Welcome back to Frustrated with Wrestling. It's been a long time. This show started it all. Way back before you had Fans Perspective, Rocket's Hideout, Nerdploitation. It was me and the guy that's sitting right across from me, Dr. Nick. How you doing?
Oh, fantastic.
It was us, just in a hot room with no air conditioning, talking about wrestling.
I mean, you said it yourself. It was our flagship show. We had tons of views. We actually got flagged by WWE.
We're still getting flagged by WWE. Episode 3 of Legends House Recap just got taken off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just... Do you think they're really sitting there in their office watching YouTube videos all day?
I think they are. They're like, I want to fuck with Dr. Nick and Dave.
Like, hey boss, I just found they put an old Jack's commercial in this. Should I take it down? Damn it.
We're losing money here. I've been searching for a topic to talk about, and I originally came up with Canadian wrestling and wrestlers. And the reason why I bring that up is because why is it everybody that was Canadian, why did they have to book them with the giant Canadian flag on their ass?
And they were the bad guys all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's the beef with Canada?
Well, like Lance Storm, he's Canadian, but he didn't have to, they didn't book him as a Canadian.
Until the Un-Americans.
Yeah. Who are some of the other ones that, Dino Bravo, I believe, was Canadian? They didn't book him that way.
And then you had the French Canadians.
Yeah.
The Quebecers.
Yeah. To me, I think they tried to turn the nationality into a gimmick, which they did a lot of. You know, they did that with the Iraqis, with Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, but they made villains out of the Iraqis, but we really wanted to kill...
Yeah, we did.
Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter. So I think they're just like, let's do a villain that we really don't want to kill in real life.
It's like, why would you want to kill a Canadian? They're like the most chill people.
Yeah. Especially because they made a big deal about the Hart Foundation versus, like, DX back in the day.
Yeah.
But South Park just ripped Canadians apart. 2 years prior to that, we were like, oh no, those Canadians.
Something that was interesting, that last rendition of the Hart Foundation was really good. I mean, you had Brian Pillman, Owen, British Bulldog was part of it. You had the whole set. They were the biggest heels in the company. But when they went to Canada, it was amazing to see.
It was a great time in wrestling to be a fan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Brett even said himself, he's like, when I was, WWF champion, I wasn't booked as Canadian. I was just Bret Hart, who happened to be from Canada. So when he would go to Japan and all these other countries, wrestling, even though it is very popular in America, it's twice as big overseas.
It's a sport. In Japan, where
it's a legitimate sport.
Try to call it entertainment in Japan, you'll probably get fucking...
Stab with a chopstick.
But speaking of that, WWE's going to Japan, which is huge.
Yeah, and they're having Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston.
Really?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, that was one of the matches I seen.
Well, I was about to say how awesome it was, but
I didn't really understand that.
How weird is that though? Because like Japan practically snubs the WWE.
Yeah.
Because we're sports entertainment and they're like religion over there.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of weird because TNA can go and Global Force can go and ROH because they're wrestling. But But we're basically they look at us as movies.
Well, the interesting thing about the cultural divide of wrestling, it's kind of a universal language when it comes to sports entertainment, wrestling, any type of grappling. It's like let's say you watch, New Japan or Ring of Honor does a show and over there in Tokyo or whatever. Japanese crowds are the most unemotional crowds. But it's really cool, though, because, like, things that would send people in an uproar over here, they're very respectful.
They're like, respect,
oh, good,
Yeah.
But if there's something really big, or, like, something really big to them is like, oh my gosh, it's a baseball slide. And they're like, oh, very good.
Bring out the C4 explosives, they go nuts.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh.
You always hear, like the Japanese fans, they always go, oh.
Yeah. It's like, what's going on?
Some guy getting blown up in a bed of glass with C4 explosives.
Over here would be like, oh my god.
Yeah.
They gotta be respectful even though some guy's getting blown up.
Well, someone stop the damn match. But yeah, it's just kind of weird.
I was always a fan of the Dynamite Kid and the British Bulldog because even though they weren't booked as, Canadians, the Hart family is one of those families that regardless of how many years pass, everybody did something noteworthy in that family, even currently up to Natalya Neidhart.
She pulls off a small leather suit way better than Bret Hart ever did.
Yeah. And then you also have Tyson Kidd. I think a lot of the people that were trained in the Heart Dungeon, because it was such a close-knit thing, you were pretty much adopted, you know. Which I've always respected Steel Heart. You know, for those listeners out there, look it up. Wrestling wasn't just 2 or 3 companies. Every area had their own territory. And if you stepped into those people's territory, they would, like, shoot you. I mean, it was that serious.
In the States, it would be like, you had McMahon, then you had, you know, the South, West Coast, everything, but Canada was really like Stu's territory.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he basically had the whole...
All the provinces was all Stu.
And I actually went back and watched some of the older Stampede Wrestling, because I found out that Stampede Wrestling has actually been still operating even today. But the older stuff, technically, they were doing things before WCW ever did. You did not see flips and dives and false pins and stuff like that. They were doing that before anybody else was.
Yeah.
Unless you lived in Canada or you did the tape trading, like people would send out footage, you didn't know it existed. During that time, it wasn't necessarily we didn't like Canada. It was more of Vince like, hey, we got to get some new guys. So, in a way, he kind of raided the territories, not only just in America, he raided Stampede.
Yeah.
Brett and Owen and, you know, Dynamite Kid and all the, you know.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, come to work for my company.
Well, much like WCW technically raided the southern part of our continent.
Yeah.
Vince, before that, raided up north.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, like, the Canadian gimmick and how it's become sort of a mockery on the indie scene.
Oh.
Because we've both been around the booking of indie scenes.
Yes.
And literally, you'll get a guy that's from, let's say, Danville, Illinois. You'll get a guy from Danville, Illinois. Probably has never been further north than Chicago. And the booker will go, okay, we need something different for you. You're going to be booked from Canada. And it happens, and they make maple leaf tights, and they
jackets, and
and they order a flag from the internet, and they're billed from Canada.
Like, it would be different if like they actually did research on the culture. I mean, just because like you I've been to Canada myself, you don't see people walking around up there with maple leaves on their shirts and shit like that. They wear flannel, jeans, hats. Yeah. They're very industrial people. They're lumberjacks.
Yeah, I know of a few people on the indie scene that are billed from Canada that have no affiliation with Canada. It's almost as stale and overdone as the
redneck.
Well, redneck and the Middle Eastern gimmick.
Yeah,
you know, I know a few guys that are billed from the Mid East, and
they don't even speak French.
Yeah,
if you want to be a Canadian and you want to impress me, speak a little French.
Yeah.
That would impress me a lot.
I mean, I used to eat it up though as a fan of like the lower indies, and I used to buy into like, oh, this he came all the way from Iraq to wrestle in this small ass town.
Well, because they did a good job of suspending belief, which is
until you went to Walmart and saw him pushing carts.
Yeah. You know? Well, I knew a guy that was from the Dominican Republic, and then I found out he worked at KFC.
Yeah.
It's been generalized, too. It's like they dumbed it down so much to where it's like, okay, you're from Canada, and we just want you to come out here and be Canadian.
That's all that matters. Like, Team Canada and TNA, like, I know you guys are good wrestlers, but the only thing that matters is that you're from Canada.
Yeah, nothing else.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, that's it. Know? Nothing else.
Their music was the Canadian national anthem. Like, how lame would it be if an American wrestler came out to the national anthem all the time?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be so boring.
Yeah. What do you think is one of the missing things in the current wrestling product when it comes to different nationalities?
I wish wrestling was booked more if you had a world championship. Everyone in the world wants that title, but
WCW used to do that, where they used to have Japanese wrestlers come in, and they would fight for their titles. Ric Flair used to go to Tokyo.
Even went up to Canada.
Yeah.
I think the age of, like, I'm billed from here and that's what I am and that's all that matters about me is stale. That's why I never got behind Rusev.
It being the reality era, that's what we're in now. Why would you bring a gimmick from the 80s that only worked during that time because we hated Russia during that time?
Yeah.
Now, granted, we're not on good terms with them now.
Yeah, but it's not the Cold War.
Yeah, it's not the Cold War. Explain to me how you're Bulgarian, but you're a Russian sympathizer.
I don't get it.
I know nothing about Bulgaria. I knew nothing about it.
Well, they try for a little bit to be like, he's completely Russian, but the dude has a Bulgaria tattooed on his arm.
Yeah.
They tried that with Canadians back in the day.
Didn't work.
Like, I'm from Canada, hate me. I'm like,
now,
I don't hate
La
you.
Resistance, it worked.
La Resistance, yeah, because they were French Canadians, so fuck them.
We don't like French people.
Yeah, no.
I like their cheesecake, but that's about it.
Well, I mean, that worked too, because Quebec doesn't even want to be part of Canada.
No, they're like, screw you guys.
We hate hockey. We hate hockey and maple syrup.
Delicious.
Let it sit and mold for a little bit. That's delicious. We love our cheese. That's not French at all.
The other day I was researching stuff online. Yeah, I like to watch random matches and companies and stuff like that. And one thing that amazed me when it came to titles, there was actually a Canadian world title at one point. And even though it was only defended sparingly, why in the world would a company, especially nowadays, like I'll use TNA as an example. They had a title at one point where it was the Legends title, and then they made it into like an international title where you could only defend it against somebody from another country. They tried to make that gimmick work so well, but it didn't.
Well, it's just like the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I thought that meant the world.
Like, I actually have the Intercontinental title at home, and it says, like, Antarctica.
Yeah.
You know, all these other...
South America.
I'm like, I don't remember WWE ever doing a show in Antarctica. I don't remember them ever going to South Africa. Hey, this week on Monday Night Raw, we got from South Africa. I do remember Damien Demento. Here's an interesting thing. People are probably going to give me shit for it. Was Bret Hart overrated or underrated?
In the ring, he was solid, but I always thought Bret Hart sucked on the microphone.
He did.
And he had no personality.
No.
He didn't play to the cameras. He was just out there to wrestle. He didn't work the camera like a WWE wrestler supposed to.
He didn't know how.
Nope. He was very bland. It was just like... It was almost like talking to somebody's back.
Yeah.
You know, watching him on Raw was like... It was almost like you're eavesdropping on his match, because he didn't connect. But he was an amazing wrestler.
I personally think he's underrated because of the fact that... And this is going to sound really strange, because people are going to call bullshit on this. Even when I was watching him when I was younger, I felt as if he was a placeholder for that title. He deserved that title, but it was as if they were waiting for somebody else to come along.
They were. Razor Ramon, but he left.
Yeah.
Because, like, you think about it, if Razor didn't leave, he'd be world champion.
Yeah.
He was Intercontinental Champion, and he was going for that world title.
Because I know some of the worst matches were, like, him and Diesel at, like, Survivor Series 95. Oh, my God.
Well, Vince had no choice but to put it on the small guys. That's all they had left.
Yeah.
Him, Shawn.
Bret is one of those guys who, if he wasn't used as a placeholder, it was, I think in a way, Vince was like, alright, it's good enough for right now. We don't need to do anything else. My thoughts were, what about Owen? Why are you sticking him in this mid-card bullshit?
Especially because Owen was the same size as Bret Hart.
Yeah.
You know, why
in actuality, if you think about it, Owen was a huge star during that time. Not only with his brother, but, like, he was doing phenomenal matches. And then when the Attitude Era came around, after the Nation folded, he was pretty much stuck with Jeff Jarrett and didn't do shit. It was like, okay, he's just here. He's just kind of here. Like, I'll use it as an example. 93 to, like, 95. 95 was a horrible year in wrestling. 93, 94 was pretty good. WrestleMania 9, Caesar's Palace. You got Yokozuna, one of the greatest world champions ever, against Bret Hart. I hated that match.
It was a terrible match.
Because I knew the outcome before it even happened. I knew it was going to happen. I had a feeling that they were pretty much like, okay, Bret's had his run. We need to give it to somebody else. And I go back and I watch it, and it wasn't necessarily Yoko's fault. It wasn't Bret's. You can't have two guys that are so different. A big guy who can move around like Yoko did was amazing. And then you got a very bland technical wrestler like Bret, who has no personality, no charisma. He can't feed off of Yoko. Yoko can't feed off of him. The only reason why Bret looked as good as he did in certain matches, he fed off of Shawn. He fed off whoever was in the ring with him. They made each other look good.
Bret Hart was etched in stone when it came to wrestling, but, like, it always seemed like he didn't give a fuck that he was in WWF.
Yeah.
Like, he always said that WWF, like, it means so much to me, and I never wanted to leave, and all this stuff, and loyalty. But even nowadays, when they have him on things like Legends of Wrestling, and they have him on DVDs, he sounds so fucking bored.
Yeah, he's just kind of there.
Yeah,
you
he's
know.
just Like, yeah.
It's like I wasn't doing
weird
anything.
thought from Bret Hart.
Well, let's use another good analogy when it comes to just their booking wise of people of Canadian descent and any really. Look at an example of Lance Storm, big star in WCW. Bring him into WWE, great technical wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
You stick him with a gimmick that is just easy. Like, they're like, okay, we're going to make him a guy that nobody likes. And then, if you notice, he just kind of disappeared from the landscape.
Canadians always got a bad rap, and now they're kind of like a novelty. Like, you can always come out with, like, the Canadian collection.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give it some respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like welcome to the WWE Network, or like this is our home video collection, and we're gonna come out with a volume 1 of all that Canadian shit that happened.
Yeah.
That's what they just packaged it together.
Yeah.
It's not a part of history. It's a part of like this sub history.
So something that really interests me when it used to anyway, not so much anymore because you don't see it. This is kind of a side thing, but this is just a rumor I've heard. With the network being as strong as it is, there is rumor that they're going to just continue making DVDs.
They might as well.
And
Heyman's DVD got on the network like a few months after.
Yeah. When I used to walk into a video store and, you used to see the cover of a pay-per-view DVD, or a VHS, I mean, and you'd see the people on the front, you'd see the really cool poster in the window, then you'd flip it over, and you'd be like, oh man, I got to see these matches.
Yeah.
It would give this great description. And it wouldn't tell everything because you had to rent it to watch it and figure it out. Even like the pay-per-view commercials. September 24th, 1994, Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Bret Hart versus blah, 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 They made it to where you didn't want to miss it. And, I'm 30 years old, and I feel like I'm 80 just because of, I use that phrase of back in the day, because that's how it's become.
Well, I mean, the presence changed so drastically. Yeah. Yesterday is back in the day.
It's one of those things where I am almost at the point when it comes to the current wrestling environment, I almost would rather read the results than actually watch the show.
It's kind of sickening now.
Like the pay-per-views, we've had 2 pay-per-views this past month. We had Elimination Chamber, which was just this past Sunday, which was okay.
It was okay. It was useless because PG Elimination Chamber doesn't work.
Yeah, and then what was the other pay-per-view we had last month? Was it Extreme Rules?
It was Extreme Rules.
Was it?
I think so.
See, I don't even remember.
Yeah, which, like, in Extreme Rules, I think Cena used a guardrail, and they called it one of those vintage rails.
Yeah.
Remember that? He used
it was a vintage rail.
Yeah, but he's using one of those old school rails. I mean, don't call it old school. That hurts.
Damn it.
Yeah, like, people still use that. Look at El Rey.
Oh, yeah.
Or not El Rey, Lucha Underground on El Rey. And look at TNA.
And then, of course, we got the Money in the Bank pay-per-view coming up.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, I could give 2 shits about that either.
It's just bullshit. Gimmick pay-per-views are the death of me.
Oh, man. It frustrates me to be on. When I see a pay-per-view poster, like the last one I seen with Elimination Chamber and you got Ryback on the front of it, what sense does that make? When they used to do pay-per-view posters, they used to be really cool looking. Mm-hmm. I actually seen some online I kind of want to order, from the past. They made you want to go, oh, man, that looks awesome.
They don't have a rivalry anymore that carries the company. Like, in the Attitude Era, Austin was on every cover of every pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. And then under it was all the other guys that had feuds. And they don't have that anymore.
Well, you look it up on the network later on. There's this poster from Uncensored. I think it was like 97. It was one of the worst pay-per-view posters. It's got a picture of Buff Bagwell doing this.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's got him doing the duck face, which the duck face wasn't even a thing yet.
No, it was just him being retarded.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah. I was like, what the hell is this?
And he just injected steroids into his lips.
Yeah.
Just like, this is the one place I have left.
But like, even, I started watching a lot of the older WCW pay-per-views. Even though they were cheesy and corny, they're still kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
WCW did a horrible job of booking Canadians, too.
Yeah, speaking of Canadians. What are some of the worst Canadian gimmicks of all time?
What was that one that they had? Because I know that there was a team that they had that they booked so heavily as being like the anti-American. I don't remember exactly who they were.
The Quebecers were in WCW. You might be thinking of them.
Yeah, they booked them so heavy. Every single show that they had, they made sure that like the whole crowd was gonna boo the whole match.
I just never got it. Like, they would try so hard to say, like, these guys are, like, the axis of evil.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not scared.
They're nice people.
Yeah, they're nice people, yeah.
If I was out in the parking lot and had a flat tire, they'd help me, you know?
Yeah, people in Alaska just come outside and they're like, hey, what's up?
How's it going?
Yeah.
It's really fucking cold out here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say hi, though.
You're like, I'm going to go back inside, and then they do, and the Canadians like pussies.
Yeah.
They have hockey, they just have fucking poutine and
Yeah.
maple syrup and healthcare.
Yeah. Healthcare is awesome.
They have everything. They have beautiful wildlife.
They have Molson.
Yeah.
And Labatt Blue.
It's not like a war zone or...
There isn't like some dictator, you know, I hate Americans.
You know what I don't get is Canadians are always booked as heels. Mexicans are always booked as faces.
Mm-hmm.
But you try to go down to Mexico in the wrong part right now, you'll be dead.
Yeah.
Your head
Cartel.
Will be, yeah, your head will be fucking on the ground.
Yep.
You know, why don't they book... Are they scared to book Mexicans as heels?
They used to sometimes.
LAX was huge.
Yeah.
I loved LAX.
Yes.
Because that reminds me of Mexico right now. They need to do that more often. And leave Canada alone.
Well...
Screw talking about Brett. Kevin Owens is a true Canadian because he's got a belly full of poutine.
That's true. That's true.
He looks like a true Canadian
yes,
right
he
there.
really does. He's probably got like fries stuck in his beard.
Yeah, he looks like he's like...
He's had plenty of
He
poutine.
looks like he's 30 minutes away from missing hockey night.
Yeah.
Like, I have to finish this match up. Hockey's on.
It's like one of those guys you see in the parking lot drinking beer during, after
Yeah.
a tailgate.
Yeah.
Or you see him in like one of the bars at the restaurants.
Literally does look
I
like...
wouldn't, if I ran into him in public, I would never go, yeah, that guy's a wrestler. I'd be like, hey, that's my guy that looks like my drunken uncle from the reunion.
Yeah, because he wears WWE T-shirts. He looks like the guy in the front row. But yeah, that was our Canada discussion. I feel like Canada's got a bad rap, even though they have a huge legacy in wrestling. They're kind of gimmicked, and that's unfortunate. Glad to see guys like Owens, even though I'm not glad to see guys like Owens. But I'm glad to see them not have American flags all over their fucking body.
Yeah.
Or not American.
Well, yeah.
Canadian flags all
Well,
over
like,
their body.
even if it was like an American gimmick, you wouldn't see somebody with like a giant American flag on their ass.
Yeah.
But before we leave, I just want to say this. I know it's been a while since we've been here. Go back and watch all the past videos.
Yeah.
Better yet, there's a little section on the bottom called the comments section. I want to hear
Yeah.
tons of shit, all right, people?
Yeah.
Negative comments, positive comments, how your mom's doing, I don't give a shit. But this has been another edition of Frustrated with Wrestling.